Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco. Dish out on the movies. And tonight we are doing something a little bit different. Marco will have further explanation on what we're doing and some other issues. But I just want to say what we are doing at least. And that is we are reviewing season
Oh, I wanted to do the full one.
Season 1 of Masterchef Junior.
Yeah.
And the reason why it was only how many episodes?
7.
So I could manage it and try to do all the other things that I have to do. It's the beginning of summer and
Yet still you haven't managed to finish the Long Gunman, which is like
and that's actually a fun show.
Yeah.
But this, just to say briefly, this season was the very first one, and it's just like any other show. They're trying new things. It's a reality show, so they handle things differently. And so they really did do a lot of things differently that were not really good. But it wasn't bad. I mean, it ended up, I think, on a good note. The right person, I believed, and I think Marco too, believed won.
I actually thought that Troy should have won.
No, you don't. But the reason why he wanted me to go back, way back...
Well, why don't I explain that?
Okay, well, I'll let Marco explain that.
We haven't even started the review yet, and you're already, over-explaining things.
Okay, well, anyway,
to the point of
just the fact
selfishness and audaciousness.
Marco will explain why he wanted me to, and it wasn't bad at all. It went very quickly. It was short, so I had no problem out doing it. It was still, there's cooking. It's entertaining, even though, and I think, I'll just tell you the reason why I didn't watch it ever in the first place in the beginning is because I just thought, I don't want to see it, but it's for kids. It's a kid's show. I don't want to see it. And I watched the MasterChef, the adults, and I liked that a lot, but I didn't want to watch the kids, so I didn't. But he decided he'd do it on his own. So actually he did it years ago. I guess he did it when it first came on. And so that's fine. So anyway, but here we are years later, and I did end up watching it. And so here's why. Here's Marco.
You're still over-explaining. Okay, so what happened was, first off today, Safi, you're supposed to eat. So
oh, brother.
Here comes the airplane. So what happened today was I actually shot a different review video. Well, I mean, yesterday, technically. I shot a review video, and this is just a little update because I'm supposed to do daily videos, and there shouldn't be any reason that I can't do a daily video unless I'm dead or in the hospital, and or maybe there's like an international power outage. What happened was I shot a review, and usually when I split the review up into 2 parts, it screws up on the editing app, and so it wouldn't even download onto the editing app. It would loop back to 0%. It would get stuck at 22%. It would crash the app. It would do everything but upload the video onto the app. And so I literally could not edit the video. And I spent like 2 hours trying to edit. And then I shot a new video, which was 20 minutes shorter. And I tried editing that, and it didn't work. So what I finally did tonight was I deleted the first editing app, and I downloaded a second one, which is really shitty because we had a subscription with the first editing app where we paid for a year. Safi's going to go get a drink to wash the taste of her dessert out of her mouth. Uh, but yeah, I got a new editing app to use for this video, and that's what happened with that. So I wanted to explain that because, uh, I'm supposed to do daily videos, and I already had the video shot. I'm telling you guys, it's just that I have to put a picture on the video before I upload it, and I can't do that unless I use the editing app. But that video will be uploaded today for sure, / tomorrow technically. Safi, did you wash the taste out of your mouth?
No, I haven't even had it yet.
What's it taste like?
It just isn't good. I don't want to eat
I
now.
know.
It's too late. I don't like eating now, and that's it.
And so what happened with why we're watching Masterchef Junior is because Safi was talking about Mafia Don from the current season and how he's a really shitty bully, and at least the character on screen, not the real life person. And it's not his fault anyway, it's the judge's fault for keeping him there because of weird reasons. Strange reasons. So Safi said that she had never seen someone like that on TV who was a
I hadn't
kid.
even seen an adult like that.
So I said, "Oh, Safi, well, wait until you see MasterChef Junior season 1 with Troy, because Troy is like the worst human being on the planet in the MasterChef Junior history. If you go back and just look at all the contestants, I don't think there's anyone who's been as nasty and mean and gross as Troy from season 1. Well, I guess the Asian girl too, from season 1. She's trash too.
She's not as bad as he is.
Yeah, she's not as like in your face because she's too shy. She's too shy about it. She has to, you can kind of tell that she wishes that she could say those things, and she kind of, but she's so quiet that she's not going to. So she's not as bad as Troy, and I just thought it would be funny to see Safi react to that, because Safi has these overreactions, and it's only 7 episodes, and so we watched it. I watched it again, against my will, because I never wanted to watch the restaurant episode again.
Yeah. Well, the cooking was good, and
Yeah.
I thought they made a lot more interesting foods.
Yeah.
And actually, the people who were, and I don't know, you got to think, is it because of the opportunity that they have to make the more interesting foods? Is it because of the people who's making the food are more talented?
I think it is partly the opportunity, because with this new season, what did they get to do? They had to do these shitty team challenges the whole season. So, but in the first season, you had a lot of great food. A lot of food that looked like I want to eat that. Like the food in this season, the current season, I wouldn't want to eat any of that, really.
Not really.
That's the difference.
I'd have to think about it. I don't even know right off the bat. Maybe.
Oh, just think about the restaurant food, Safi.
I just think about
the octopus, the calamari.
God. Oh, God.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Can you imagine?
Calamari salad, the scallop salad. Yeah. There you go.
And so anyway, well, that was another thing. The food looked really delicious, and I'll tell you, I went to the doctor, and I lost, God, I don't even know. I probably lost almost 10 pounds.
That's because you're irresponsible.
Because there's just nothing good to eat, and I really have trouble finding stuff that I like. It's just awful, and I want to. And like I said, that food from the first season really looked delicious.
I know.
And I mean, you have made up stuff. One thing was chicken livers made into pate.
And that looked good.
And that actually looked good. The calamari cut up into pieces. They're not even all the same. They're like all different, and it looks like pieces of plastic. Um, and then they have these. They call it a salad, and it was like a spoonful of greens, and oh God.
So let's talk about the show.
Oh,
The,
okay, we're talking about season one
the
now. Okay.
contestants. Well, first off, we should talk about the episode 1 fiasco, the flirting fiasco, because we saw this moment in the current season. In fact, that's what's really weird about this current season is that it mirrors the first season in a lot of ways. And one of the ways was that there's this one episode where Gordon is talking to this girl, the Asian girl Leah, and she's has a crush on one of the MasterChef Junior winners, and he's like encouraging them to flirt with each other, and it's really creepy and weird. Like it's really like a boomer type of, I don't know, it's pretty weird.
And I just don't think the parents would be, especially, I know, parents of a daughter are very particular, and for that to go on right on national TV.
Yeah, they're pretty retarded.
I mean, I've seen this because I'm a parent of sons, and I've seen it over and over. Parents of daughters get very funny.
Yeah.
When it comes to that kind of thing, and I don't think they would have liked it. And this was an Asian girl too, and they're like strictly work, and they have very good work ethic, and they're not about flirting.
Except for when they turn into giant red pandas, like in Turning Red.
But I don't see that movie either. But anyway. She was there for a reason. She wants to win the prize.
And so in the season 1,
not to flirt with boys.
In the season 1, you had this other girl from New Jersey, and
oh God.
And Gordon. It seemed like the judges thought she was pretty, and like they kept her because they thought she was pretty, just like with the adults, how they had like this military interrogator woman, and she was okay, but they clearly just kept her because they thought she was attractive. And it's the same thing with this, where it seemed like Gordon comes right up to her in the first episode of the whole series, and he starts like talking to her about, you have a boyfriend? Look behind you, he's staring at you. And he's just like cackling to himself. It's really
that is weird.
It caught me off guard because I was like, what the fuck? This is some... It's not that it's horrible, but it's just really weird, and like it's really weird.
Not good. And the first show too, when
the first episode,
you want to make more episodes, or not more episodes, you want to make more seasons of the show, and you do something weird like that. I'm sure the people at Fox just love that.
Would you do that, Safi?
No.
Would you go up to her and be like, "Hey, do you have a boyfriend?"
No, because that's what the show's about, cooking. It's not anything but.
Well,
not gonna say anything else about it.
And so that was hilarious because I totally forgot that happened. Because honestly, it's not a big deal. It's just something funny to mention.
Not like that other issue.
Not like the bullying. And then what do you have? Well, and then it does become an issue because in the first season there is a pretty heavy bias. There's a contrivance feeling where they wanted 2 old contestants in the finale because they think the older contestants are wiser and
cook better and with more skill.
And then like early on there was this other girl, and I think she was Hungarian, and she had braces and a ponytail, and she took a chance and made this Korean burger, and the New Jersey girl that they think is pretty, she made like a lamb burger that was terrible.
Oh yeah, it was dry.
And they kept the New Jersey girl over the Hungarian girl, and it seemed to me like they just kept her because they think she's prettier than that other girl.
That's
And
a
so
shame.
I thought that was pretty weird. Because, I mean, you can clearly tell, like, if you just read between the lines and just kind of, like, think about it for a minute, you can clearly tell. I mean, what do you think, Safi? I mean, it's pretty obvious.
I don't know, but I do remember that when she was making the food, and and they said, "Well, why'd you choose lamb?" And I don't remember exactly what she said, and they said, lamb has a tendency to dry out really fast. And guess what? It dried out really fast, and it ended up in not very good, tasting very good, and she got in trouble. I mean, they said something and they didn't like it, but she got to stay.
Another problem with the season is definitely sending two people home a week.
Yeah, and they don't
And
have that now.
I think that that is also a testament to how little they thought of the show. Like they kept on saying, "This is such a fantastic show. So it's so amazing to see these kids cook." But then you're sending two people home a week as if they're so disposable and so dispensable that you can just get rid of two a week and it doesn't matter. But then with the adults, you'd never get rid of two a week unless it's like an audition episode. So
Yeah, and it to me at the beginning, I don't know how long it lasted, but they had so many kids, and then they would say, because, like we said, there's only 7 episodes,
yeah,
and
why is that? Because two a week go home.
you really didn't get to know the kids,
Yeah,
and it was just like, in fact, it's almost a blur to me. The ones that they ended up with, um, they're more. I don't even remember what they were like at the beginning because there were so many kids, and then they'd send the way they did it too. You couldn't see everybody's cooking.
that was
There's
another issue.
too many kids to show. I mean, it was you have too many kids. You can't show them all.
It became an issue though more and more because there was that one episode with the gross food ingredient list where the
Mm.
kids had to cook gross foods, and like the Ozark girl, one of the actresses from Ozark, she
Sophia
she
or
made
Sophie.
she made snails, and we didn't even get to see the judges try her dish because they only picked three, and so that was really disappointing. And then the Asian girl, she had a shitty souffle, a blue cheese souffle that was raw, and we didn't even get to see them tear that apart. And so a lot of that was really disappointing because I was excited to see them try these dishes and commentate over them. And so that was another issue. So you have sending two at once home, not showing all the food. The two at home is also a problem because it feels like it's not fair to both contestants. Like,
No.
why do two kids deserve to get sent home instead of just one? Like, that's pretty unfair, especially since they don't do that anymore. So, all those kids have really been unfairly sent home because they were sent home two at a time.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say too, I have to say this, and I'm sorry. This is kind of like a personal issue, and they are kids. Well, they're not kids anymore.
Oh, yeah, they're adults.
They're probably Marco's age.
So, feel free to make fun of them and
The
bully them.
Chinese girl, I'm sure she's Chinese. She wore this bow thing in her hair.
A plastic bow.
And it was plastic, or it was that fabric that's very shimmery and stuffed. Like, I have these squishmallows for sale. One of them's holding a heart, and it looks like the same kind of fabric, so it just stands up, and it's fat, and it looks plastic, like a big plastic, large. I mean, not a small size. I'm talking about overly big plastic bow in her hair, And I thought, well, maybe because it was the first episode or whatever it was.
She's trying to show off.
Yeah, she was just like, dressed up to impress or to
But
show.
no,
And she wore one every single episode. And it might be, and she changed colors. So maybe one was red, and another one was pink, and another one was yellow. I mean, they were all different colors, and I was just like, my God, I just wanted to strangle her.
What the fuck?
It was I've never seen anybody, not even a child, in my life wear a big plastic. I mean, I've seen parents. I have friends who had little kids.
Friends.
And they put bows in their baby's hair and baby daughter's hair. But it was ribbons. And this was it looked like a big piece of plastic.
Safi, just imagine Matilda wearing that.
Oh, yeah, Matilda, yeah. And I almost couldn't get past it. And I really,
That's pretty funny.
really didn't even get to know that girl.
Oh, we did.
Time. Well,
we did, though.
Not as much as I probably would if it weren't for that stupid bow. I couldn't stand looking at it. And it was distracting.
I never noticed it because I was just focused on her shitty personality at some points.
She really was very, very interested in cooking because nowadays she's at some kind of culinary institute somewhere, a real high dollar, well-known.
Well, that's fine.
I hope she's not still wearing the plastic bow.
Well, I don't think you could wear that in a professional kitchen, so.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Probably not.
But I mean, we're just talking about her character because this is a show.
Well, that was the other thing.
It's a show with characters. And her character was so trash. I thought maybe she's going to be good at first. But then in the third episode, they team her up with Sarah. And Sarah is the best competitor of the whole series. Right, Safi?
Yeah, and Sarah, I just read something about she had just given this interview just recently, like today, this year, 2022. But she said right off the bat, because everything she made for the most part was really good, and she was able to handle herself really well. And it's because she told them her grandmother had a restaurant. And when she started cooking basically when she was 9 months old. And I don't know what that means exactly. It could mean like, well, the way she was really talented and she had a lot of personality. But I don't know if it meant that, like, you know how a parent might say, okay, you want to drive, take these keys and let's go. And just almost like throwing a kid in a pool and they don't know how to swim. And so this girl, she just seemed very knowledgeable. She's only 8 or 9 in this show.
Yeah.
So even though she's a little kid, because most everybody else, I think she and this boy in the finals anyway, they were the youngest, and everybody else was like maybe 3 years older than them. And she was, they were mean to her.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to make a point here, and you just completely derailed it. So she was teamed up with Sarah, the Asian girl.
Yeah.
And, you know, she's the best competitor there. And she was clearly smarter and better than everyone. And her food was better than everyone for the most part, too.
And she had all this experience.
Okay, Safi, fuck off. And so they're doing this competition with the beef Wellingtons. And the Asian girl complained and said, please give me direction. You're supposed to be giving me direction. And then the blonde girl, Sarah, started giving her directions, and she wouldn't listen to her.
No.
So it's like, why would you say for someone to give you directions and then not listen to them? Like, what a complete
Well, she said something. She said something like, well,
Yeah.
why should I listen to you? Or
Yeah, I'm older than you, so
oh yeah,
I know more than you.
and
You
I
know, like
just
really
like
shitty
what?
behavior.
I'm like, she said that to that little girl,
Yeah.
and I mean, didn't they? And I just wonder these people who were very discriminating against her because of her age. Did they listen to what she said? That meant something. She wasn't some offhand remark.
There was like a heavy feeling of discrimination against the younger contestants
Yeah, I
in this
didn't like
season.
that.
Whereas in the newer seasons,
No.
it feels a little bit like they like the younger ones more. Like and my fair Masterchef Junior, they're practically like they want her to be the winner of the whole season.
And she's nowhere near as talented as
Is
Sarah
Sarah.
person.
Yeah.
But just an
She's
FYI,
good though.
the Sarah, who's now an adult,
Really?
was talking. She said that she had an agreement with her mother that she probably wouldn't win, and she was kind of just doing it for fun to see how far she could go, and so she wasn't all hung up when she left. Really, really upset. She was kind of upset, but I think it had more to do with the circumstances in which she had to go.
Yeah, the bullshit circumstances. And before we get to that, there was also something that happened where they were doing a cake challenge, and that was another instance of Sarah's genius because she chose for them to do cakes, and that was a really smart decision because that was the most complicated choice out of all the desserts
And most
she
of
had to
them
pick
didn't
from.
want it.
Yeah,
They didn't like it. They
'cause
didn't want it. They were dreading it. You
it's a
could
lot of
tell.
work.
Yeah, in a short amount of time.
And Alexander, the clear like the genius boy, the Grayson of season 1. Although he's way better than Grayson.
Oh yeah.
But still, they're similar types of characters. You know, they're clearly characters that these writers, these people who run the show have created.
And she said this too. She said that they edited
Yeah.
what they like their interviews. When they interview them and they'll make remarks about something that's happening. She said they edited them to fit just what Marco said, a certain narrative about what they were trying to say, whatever, and to form something that may not even be accurate.
So Alexander's cake was this meringue lemon cake,
Ew.
and it looked like it was covered in shaving cream that was like melting, and it had like a MasterChef M logo on it. Like it looked like something a baby made, and it looked like probably one of the worst things I've ever seen in cooking show history. And that's saying something because I've seen Cutthroat Kitchen, Kitchen Nightmares, all the shows, and this was horrible. And it was just a complete embarrassment, and it was almost akin to Mafia Don's turd bars.
Nah.
That he made.
And this was very unlike this guy too. He's very good at what he does, but he just could not do this.
It was his weakness. And
Very
so,
weak.
guess what happened though? The judges sent home 2 other people, and they completely ignored his mistake. And it was clear that they were biased and just wanted to keep him there because they liked him more than the other 2 kids. And I thought that's really unfair because his cake was clearly the worst one there.
It was. And
So
that's not right.
he should have gotten sent home, unfortunately.
And the little girl, her cake was really good.
Yeah, and well, no, she didn't have to make a cake.
Oh, that's
Safi.
right. That's right. But she made something else that was similar.
That was the gross food episode. She made the sardine dish.
Oh yeah.
That was the best dish of the episode.
Getting tired.
But then let's talk about the restaurant episode, where that is the worst episode of the show's history, and it's all because of Troy.
And this is something that they do even with the adults. They call it restaurant takeover. And they go into a restaurant, and of course it's all set up with Gordon. The chef has some signature dishes, and he teaches them to make it, and then they have a big crowd come in, and they have two teams. And so, like, for example, in this first season, they have a red team and a blue team. So they each made his signature dishes, the head chef, and they put the blue teams on the blue plate and the red teams on the red plate. And he would have to try them and say, and his opinion would factor into whether they win or not. But anyway, it was very stressful because cooking like this for people, and they have orders coming up, and I don't know what they were doing, but Gordon was speaking very fast.
That's how they have to talk. And so it immediately started off queer because Gordon was like, "Hey, little girl, do you know what an expediter means? Are you too stupid to know what that means?" And she's like, "Yeah, I know what that means, obviously. Fucking retard." And then he was like, "Who do you think your expediter is gonna be tonight?" And she's like, "The chef who runs the restaurant?" And then Gordon's like, "No, Chef Gordon is."
Yeah, basically, an expediter is
That's
somebody
so queer.
who's trying their dishes and watching what they're doing. And he said, "I'm not going to let one dish go out here if it's anything less than perfect."
He spoke about himself in the third person. Like, Safi, who's gonna be the reviewer? Marco's gonna be the reviewer.
It just goes back to the thing that she told them. She has been working in a restaurant since she was 9 months old.
But she's
Did they
9,
not
Safi.
listen?
She's 9.
And she must have helped. It wasn't just that her grandmother owns the restaurant. Her grandmother must do some of the cooking because the little girl was extremely talented.
And so you got this kid named Troy, and he's basically a skateboard punk Justin Bieber wannabe actor. He's not even like a chef, I guess. He's an actor. And that was another issue, was that you had these actors, and it was like they were using Masterchef Junior to climb up the ladder in acting.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that too, because it's unfair to the other kids who want to cook.
Yes.
Like there was that black girl. She was really, really good, and she was also a really good contestant. And so the fact that she had to go home, and then he gets to stay there, and he's just.
Well, and for some reason he thought he had it in the bag. He knew what to cook. And what happened was, are we going to talk about, well, let's not talk about
the
that
restaurant.
yet. We're just talking about the restaurant, but he started pushing that, they were on the same team. He wasn't even the team captain. The team captain was the short, very nice, polite boy.
Yeah, it was so funny because I forgot all about his existence. And the reason is because he literally wasn't a captain at all. He was so weak and effeminate that he never even spoke up and led the team at all. And so he literally stood by and let this guy bully Sarah because he didn't like her either. And he said he didn't want her on his team. And it's like, God, these people are fucking stupid.
And
like
there was nothing wrong with her. She was not annoying.
She's better than them.
Yeah, that's why they didn't want her on the team.
Yeah.
She would outshine them.
Yeah.
But he was distracted. Troy. Sorry. I know somebody named Trey. Was distracted. Yeah, I do.
Not anymore.
He was distracting her and making her mess up because he was a lot taller than her, and he was like in her face,
Yelling
and in
at
her
her,
ear, yelling at her,
bullying her,
telling her she couldn't do this, she couldn't do that, and she said, "But I want to do this." Or at first, he resigned her.
yeah, he's not even the captain, and
not
he's
even
telling
captain.
people what to do.
You say, "Well, you have to cut the vegetables, get the vegetables ready." She said, "Well, I don't really want to do the
But
vegetables."
she said she wasn't comfortable, which probably means she didn't think she would do a good job.
Right.
And yeah, he was just horrible, and it was really irritating to watch because it's like, he's clearly bullying her, and he's clearly pushing her around. And then on the other team, they're a disaster too because the Asian girl, she was a terrible leader, and she did a terrible job. And then Alexander can't work in a team, but at least he's not a bully like Mafia Don. So you have another. I guess it's a certain personality type where they can't work on teams.
Well, another thing is they were kind of both type A. And it's very interesting because they end up being the two finalists in the whole thing. But they're both drivers. I mean, they want to drive the narrative, they want to drive the recipe, they want to tell people what to do. There's a third person on their team, and he was younger, like
Jack.
Sarah, but I don't think he's as young. He's probably in the middle.
He was pretty good.
And he just stuck to what he was told to do, which was cook the meat, which they had a tuna. Was it the tuna? And that was part of the appetizer.
I don't know.
And then they had a main course.
He did fish of some kind.
And he
did a good job.
Yeah, he did an excellent job because he stuck to what he was doing. He paid attention, and he was calm and just stuck his nose to the grindstone, did what he had to do.
Meanwhile, on the other team, you had Troy, and what was hilarious was I forgot this too. Gordon was commentating about the events, and he was saying, and you have the blue team, and the leader, he's not able to cope with Troy's overexertive presence. It's like, so basically he's describing bullying as an overexertive presence. Like, that's just isn't that weird, Safi? Like, that's even more weirder than the flirting thing. Like, he has an overexertive presence. Like when OJ killed his wife, she just could not cope with his overexertive presence.
Ridiculous.
That's what he said. Or like, Johnny Depp can't cope with Amber Heard's overexertive presence.
But, I know that the judges liked her, the little girl.
Yeah.
And I think they wanted to see how it was going to play out. And I thought that kid's behavior was so Troy was so abhorrent
that you should have immediately sent him home, without question.
That he would never be allowed to continue.
Yeah.
But
and so
no.
The fact that he was the only one on the team who got to stay, the person who acted the worst the whole episode got to stay. That clearly indicates to me they either kept him because he's an actor, or they kept him because he's older than both of them, which is also bad because it's discrimination. And then in the next episode, they had this shitty thing where Jack, he cooked a chicken roulade, which was a complicated dish to make. And,
Yeah.
We saw that, remember Worst Cooks in America? They've made that before. And he got sent home over the Asian girl because she cooked chicken wings. And I thought, that was really biased and unfair, too. Making a chicken roulade is a lot harder to do. And so it's too bad that they didn't keep him. And then it was good, though, to see Troy go home. Because Troy had the advantage for the episode. And he still managed to screw it up. Because he's an actor. And so he took a chicken thigh to cook that, which is also something a brainless actor would do. It's not something a smart chef would do. And so he took the thigh and it was raw. I think it was like the only raw food the whole season. Or there might have been like one other thing, but that's it.
Yeah. I now to be truthful, like I said, they ripped through those in the first 2 weeks or whatever. They ripped through those contestants because
Yeah.
and sent them packing. You didn't really get to know them, and they weren't allowed to all show their food. So it's confusing, and it just sped by, and you really didn't get to see anything. So.
And then in the finale, you had Alexander versus the Asian girl.
Right.
And it was a bloodbath, Safi. Like he cooked these complex dishes. They were elevated dishes. They all looked pretty good. She did have some good stuff too. Like I think I liked the shrimp thing. Was that the entree or yeah.
Well, I think it was the appetizer.
That looked good. But he destroyed her. Like he just straight up destroyed her.
They had to have an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert.
It was
just to let you know.
It was like watching a tank fight a cat. Like an army tank, like kill a cat or something. Like just run over a cat. Like that's what it was like. Like she had no chance at all. And so it was really sad that, I guess it was satisfying because the way that she acted, she had this stuck-up attitude for a lot of the season. So it was pretty satisfying to see him beat her because she had this, like, I'm a know-it-all attitude because I'm older.
And I know how to cook all this Asian food. The problem is that we're talking about Alexander, okay? He took some chances and
he took risks.
He told these are very important things because I don't even remember this happening in a cooking show, but certain kids would make a declarative statement about their skills, and if it was something that was positive, you're probably going to see them near the end. Well, that was him, and that was that little girl, although she had to go home because of that stupid bully.
Yeah.
But anyway, he said, and they repeated it too. The judges repeated because they were just so astounded. He said, "I love to cook. I cook about 6 times a week."
Yeah.
So out of 7 days, he cooked 6 days in a row, or just 6 days. And that means he's serious about learning to cook well. And his whole thing, he wanted to go to culinary school.
Well, she did too.
Right, they both want to go to culinary school, but the thing is, the difference between the two is he said, I cook 6 times a week. And they were just blown away, but then for some reason they forgot about it.
Yeah.
When he's competing, and I just don't know how you could forget about that.
It was fun to see, too, how many times they tried to sabotage Alexander, and then he'd just destroy them. Like, he'd just oh, you're gonna give me liver, something I've never had before? Well, I'm just gonna invent a new dish and, blow everyone's minds.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty funny. But he should have gotten sent home for the cake thing, honestly. But anyway, Safi, what would you rate this season in terms of letters? Because I would give it a B minus. Because I do think it has a lot of good qualities hidden in amongst the shittiness of the show. It has a very fake and contrived quality about it.
Oh, we should say, why didn't Trey, who knew more?
I already talked about that.
We did? About the chicken thigh?
I did. I said I did.
Well,
You were zoned out.
I guess so. I'm getting really tired, but did you say the thing about Joe and what he said? His little foreshadowing remark?
Oh, well, Joe told him to cook 2 chicken thighs.
He said, "You sure you want
And-
to?" He says, "It's just 2.
and he
Why don't
wouldn't
you cook
do it.
both?" And he said, "No, I don't need to do
No.
that."
I said that choosing a chicken thigh would be something a stupid actor would do. It's
Oh.
not something a smart chef would do. Like, if you had to choose, wouldn't you choose like the breast or something? Where
I thought he was going to pick the wings, actually, make chicken wings.
I would
because
pick the
he's-
liver because I would want to taste that since I've never had chicken liver before.
Oof.
I want to take a chance with that.
Well, if you're competing and you want to show them how special you are, you don't cook a food that you, and she even, that we're back to the Chinese girl now, because see, her final meal for her contest winning ending conclusion was something she cooks all the time. She told them. She said, "I know this really well. I cook it all the time."
It was very ordinary.
And
it was very
that's a mistake.
unspectacular.
Because they want to see how talented you are.
I think the biggest mistake was her whole ending to her MasterChef Junior career was pears that were soaked in wine or whatever, like pear that's been soaked in wine, and she's not a dessert person, and so you can tell Alexander deconstructed a cannoli and a Napoleon at the same time, and so you have, and that's another thing too, is one of the good things about the season was it really kind of showed you how weak this cooking industry is when it comes to desserts.
Yeah.
Because you have a lot of these chefs and they don't know how to cook desserts, but they know how to cook everything else. And like even with the restaurant challenge, you don't even see them make them any desserts. And so it's like there's no emphasis put on desserts. And so that really came through with her. And the finale was that her dessert was lackluster in comparison to his.
Yeah, I think, I have watched the later seasons, like right now, of MasterChef Junior, and they brought in a woman, I don't remember her name, she had blonde hair, they have a different woman now, but they had her there for a few years. She was a dessert maker.
Yeah.
In fact, she may have her own bakery or something, I don't know, but for sure. But she could do anything, and she knew all about the ins and outs of making a dessert. I remember, like the cook time and what kind of pan is the best, what kind of flour,
So that was good. What would you rate the season in terms of letter grade, Safi?
I guess I'd give it a B-. I was not very happy about what they did to that bully.
That little girl.
And did you tell them what one of the commenters said and his experience and about the firing and if they had somebody in their kitchen who...
Oh, well, someone said in the comments on a video, they said that if Troy had been acting like that in a professional kitchen, he would have been fired. And, people in professional kitchens, they don't tolerate that type of behavior. And so the fact that they let him do that, it was almost like they were encouraging him to act like that. And so they should have sent him home. I mean, there was literally no reason for her to be sent home. Like, she hardly made any mistake the entire episode.
Right.
Like, the head chef, he talked about how he didn't like the plating, like he was missing sauce. That's a part of plating, because he can put an amount of sauce on the plate that he needs to put.
And who was doing the plating?
Troy.
Right.
Because he wanted to. Because he assigned himself to plating. So there you go. Bias.
Yeah, it was very sad.
Yeah, that episode was an F-, obviously.
And even though Sarah today, as an adult, said that she knew that when she talked it over with her mother, and she knew she probably wouldn't win, and she wasn't going to feel bad about it, and she had a very good attitude, and so I don't know, and she knew that there were actors amongst the kids like
Yeah,
Sophia.
I really don't like that.
She knew that because she knew Sophia was on Ozark. And I don't remember if she mentioned that dumb Troy or not, but I guess I don't care if I get his name wrong because he was such a jerk. And it's so funny because, see, what happened was they had to, at the end, they had 4 contestants, okay? They had to end up with 2 who would be in the finals, right? And so they had to do one thing. And the big thing about Gordon is he likes poached eggs or soft-boiled eggs.
Okay, I thought you were going to talk about the medium well thing. Because there was a redeeming moment for Troy.
Yeah, one
earlier in the
moment.
season.
The whole season.
He cooked a steak and Gordon said, "Now what temperature?" You know, they get off on hearing the words medium rare. And so Gordon asked him, "What temperature am I expecting in the steak?" And Troy said, "Well, it's going to be medium well because that's how I like my steaks. Because it makes them extra crispy. And so I only cook my steaks medium well." And Gordon looked at him like, like he was upset that he didn't get to hear his precious medium rare come out of his mouth.
Because like we said in the other review, when we talked about this, all of the cooking shows, all of them push medium rare.
Well, I think from now on, when I go to restaurants and order steak, I'm just going to order well done steaks to be a jackass.
Well, I hope it's good. But it's like a mantra. It has to be medium rare, or you're an idiot. And I disagree.
It's not like you can
never order. I started ordering because I wanted to see what the difference was, and I don't really like having red meat in my mouth. And that's what it is inside. It's red. It's like not even cooked. And I don't really care for that.
But Safi, it's not like you have the option to have. It's like no. If you don't have medium rare, you're wrong.
And you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get anything but what they want you to have.
Yeah, like they tried it and they said the steak was cooked perfectly, but it should have been cooked long. It shouldn't have been cooked that long. So like they're like, you know, it's perfect, but it shouldn't have been medium well.
But anyway, I just wanted to say, at the end, when there were 4 people and they had to pare it down to 2, they all had to cook a soft-boiled egg because Ramsay loves soft-boiled eggs and he has one every day. And he said this in some other episode, and I believe it. I mean, he's like a real perfectionist. My dad used to have one every day, and so what happens is when you cook it, it's kind of like partially cooked if you don't know what this is, because I don't know anybody who eats these. And then it's runny on the inside. It's like a easy over where you have some yolk and you dip your toast in the yolk.
Looks pretty good. But what's your point about it?
But my point is,
what's your point?
They all had to cook one the way it's supposed to be cooked. Well, Troy was the only one who did it right.
And somehow...
So he got an advantage.
Even though he got an advantage, he's still screwed up because he's Troy.
Well, what happened was his advantage was to pick
Safi, I've already gone over that.
Well, I know that, but
We've already gone over that.
He thought he was so smart picking what he picked and giving everybody else what they got. And it just wasn't as smart as he thought he was.
Well, you're not either, because this is an hour-long video and I don't even have the space to edit it. So we're going to have to go out and upload 2 times tomorrow. Okay, Safi, so
That's it. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe because we like subscribers and we welcome your commentary. If you've seen this season, let us know what you thought about it too and what you think about the latest season of MasterChef Junior. Bye, everybody.
bye.